Number 5. 11BX137. A gadget blog named Gadgets with 2 Z's got international viral attention after they received an exceedingly strange, mysterious CD sent to their address. The blank gold CD has a series of letters and numbers written on it, and no other markers denoting what it could be. The contents of the CD when played are very confusing to say the least, strange and downright horrifying. A hooded figure dressed like a bubonic plague doctor, standing menacingly in what looks like a burnt-out, destroyed remnant of a building. He just sorta appears to be standing and communicating in some kind of code, wandering, posing, revealing a blinking light emanating from the palm of his hand. Its hand, maybe? This thing does kind of have SCP-049 vibes. After about a minute, the hooded figure faces the wall, where he stays for the remainder of the video. But where the video goes from creepy to I might never sleep again levels of horrifying, is that when you run the audio through a spectrogram, a fancy word for a visualization of sound, images begin to appear of tortured bodies and a chilling threat spelling out, "You are already dead." That's the kind of thing you'd love to receive in the mail unmarked. Internet sleuths the net over came together to try and uncover and unmask this nefarious figure in the terrifying video. Now, if it's any comfort for you, the images found in the spectrogram appear to be excerpts from low-rent horror movies, and people found screen captures that matched up pretty well. Speculation ran wild as to what this video could possibly mean. Was there a secret message or a threat behind its cryptic codes? Was it just an advertisement for something? Or just a bored artist trying to get somebody's attention the only way he knew how? Well, eventually, someone did come forward. A man by the name of Parker Warner Wright claims to be the plague doctor in the video, and said the reason for the video was nothing more than an art project to entertain and confuse people. Like most cryptic scary artists, when he was asked about why the video was made, all he had to say was, "I see my work as waves on the oceans. Thanks." Number 4. I feel fantastic. Now, if you're a student in horrifying, unexplained YouTube clips and legends, perhaps you've been unfortunate enough to run into this one before. But if you haven't, I'm sorry. It's been years since I Feel Fantastic first graced the YouTube algorithm, and yet we're still no closer to understanding, uncovering what's going on here. The video is pretty short and sweet, but I doubt you'll actually be able to finish it. It's a mannequin-looking android named Tara, singing her little song for the camera. Now, she's got the chutzpah down pat, but her natural stage presence could use a little bit of work, maybe her tone too, because she kind of sings discordantly and completely terrifying. It sounds like the kind of thing that you would hear a few minutes before you wake up strapped to an ice-cold slab operating table in a dank basement. The robot, we know, was built by John Bergeron, and that's about all we know. He envisioned his beloved Tara as being an android pop sensation, kind of like what I think Grimes might be. And I really don't want to shut down Tara's career before it's blossomed, but she's got some serious hurdles to solve first. The incredibly unsettling nature of the video caused speculators to run wild with theories about what they were seeing. The most extreme ones go so far as to suggest John was a murderer, and Tara was a mannequin wearing the clothes of his victims. Some suggest he's just a very strange man who wanted a singing companion in his home. In all the years since this clip went viral, we've never got a follow-up on this bizarre video, and I doubt we're ever going to get more answers on this one. I wonder if Tara is still out there, if she's still singing proudly, or if she's rotting in a basement somewhere. I just hope she's still practicing, you know?
Chewing their way in at number 3, we've got cannibals. In amongst the many seedy online markets is one that might make your stomach churn. With every possible vice being catered to, why wouldn't people with a penchant for human flesh make an appearance? There are plenty of folks looking to buy and sell human meat online. In fact, there are some folks who are really into the idea of being eaten by someone else. They say stuff like, "I'm fresh, I'm juicy, come on and eat me." Seems like a sort of sexual compulsive thing. Very odd. In addition to the buying and selling of meat for the purpose of consumption, there are markets for products made from humans. There are customers and shopkeepers looking to exchange wallets and belts made from skin. Maybe even a full skin suit, kinda like Buffalo Bill. Or maybe a wallet made of something taken from a poor pill-popping woman, a la the house that Jack built. Who would want to own, let alone wear some of this stuff? I'd really rather not know. Relatively recently, a man was caught using the dark web to plan the murder and consumption of a 13-year-old girl. He had been searching for a parent willing to let him kill and eat their daughter, and ended up communicating with an undercover agent posing as a father. They agreed on a meeting place, but when he showed up, he was not met by a young girl, but by the police. After being encouraged on the dark web, he was ready to go all the way through with it. Coming in at number 2, we've got Red Rooms. Think Videodrome. Red rooms are basically live feeds of people being tortured in methodical and perverse ways. Some say you can pay to tell the operator what to do to the victim. It's hard to find verifiable sources of red rooms, but their existence isn't totally implausible. Reddit user Drowdan swears that one day he came across one by accident and hasn't been the same since. When he was in high school, he spent a lot of time using Tor on recommendation from his tech-savvy friend. Exploring, clicking links, just seeing how far he could get. Eventually he came across a forum called something along the lines of Think Evil, populated almost exclusively by people discussing very dark topics. Sexual assault, torture, long-term abuse tactics, cannibalism, you name it. Most of the posts were pretty old though. However, he noticed that someone had posted a link within the hour on the forum's main page. Red Room, going live soon. Morbid teenage curiosity made him click. He was directed to a live webcam chat room broadcasting what appeared to be the inside of an abandoned house. Front and center was a woman tied to a chair with a pillowcase over her body. A man with his face covered entered the frame and asked the audience what they wanted to see and how much they would pay. Someone ended up putting $500 on the line to see her beaten with a bat. Soon after, this bidder requested that the poor woman be killed. Another chat member asked Drowdan why he wasn't talking, which caused him to freak out and pull the plug on his computer. Needless to say, he wasn't going to head back there anytime soon. And finally at number 1, Peter Scully. I really don't want to discuss the grisly details of this, so I'll make it short. Peter Scully is an Australian serial killer made famous for running a pay-per-view site on the dark web. He and his partner Carmen Ann Alvarez would torture and assault young girls on camera for paying viewers. He was eventually brought to justice when 2 potential victims escaped and identified Alvarez, who then confessed and revealed all. Scully is currently serving a life sentence in the Philippines for his crimes, thank goodness. Even a stay in one of the world's most overstuffed prisons is too good for him. When asked why he did it, Scully said, "I don't know why I did it. I wasn't like that in Australia. I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse." Even if he's behind bars, the anonymous viewers on the dark web may very well still be at large. Coming in at number 5, we've got the Human Experiment. This is a particularly well-known site on the dark web that was active for quite a while before going quiet around 2011. As you may have guessed from the name, this site documents all sorts of human experimentation. Not lab trials or allergy tests though, this is some real Unit 731 stuff. The pages detail experiments done by anonymous doctors and med students, all unethical, despicable, and super unhippocratic. The goal is to prove that some humans are verifiably superior to others. Whether it's a eugenics thing or a super soldier program gone sour, I can't say for sure. These dastardly doctors pick up homeless and unregistered people and subject them to all sorts of horrid conditions, all in the name of science. Some of the tests include starvation, extreme dehydration, testing the limits of pain tolerance, introducing infectious diseases, causing organ damage, transfusing unsafe substances, administering experimental drug trials, sterilization, and subjecting infants to x-rays, heat, and pressure. Apparently a lot of these experiments are covertly conducted in hospitals and the results are shared under the names of other real patients. After the experiment is complete, usually thanks to the death of their subject, the bodies are dissected and disposed of discreetly. At one point, dumpsters behind meat shops were mentioned. Yikes. Like most information available on the dark web, the human experiment has been subject to plenty of scrutiny and skepticism. However, according to some intrepid researchers, some of the data they posted related to their experiments with hypothermia and bleach injections is reasonably realistic. It could very well be an elaborate fantasy, but numbers don't often lie. Like I mentioned earlier, these folks have been radio silent since 2011, but that doesn't mean they've stopped with their experimentation. Maybe they've just stopped posting about it. Coming in at number 4, Hitmen. Thanks to the relative anonymity of the dark web, hits seem to be a relatively common commodity. Who hasn't at some point wanted someone dead? Not having to kill them yourself is a huge bonus too. Although that's definitely not something I've ever considered. No way. There are 3 major sites that a lot of folks seem to be familiar with: Assassination Market, Unfriendly Solution, and Cthulhu Resume. They all function a little bit differently, but are definitely all for the same purpose. Unfriendly Solution is apparently just one hitman. He claims to have years of experience and no remaining human empathy, which means he'll do just about anything to anyone for the right price. Cthulhu Resume is an organized criminal group full of former soldiers and mercenaries. Apparently they're a well-oiled killing machine. And then there's the Assassination Market, which is a little odd. It works kind of like a crowdfunding operation with an element of gambling. A target is added to a list and users can add cryptocurrency to a pool of money associated with that person. Folks can also predict when and how a person will die, and whoever gets it right will take the money home. The person behind this site appears to be more fundamentally driven than others, with plenty of long manifesto style points about their assassination style. Although with most folks on the list being celebrities, it seems like the site's more of a novelty than anything. Many folks theorize that the more accessible operations are probably sting operations for the FBI or similar organizations, which makes sense to be honest. Catch killers before they can find a real hitman. However, I don't doubt that there are real assassins skulking around on the dark web. They'd be much more furtive though, allowing only certain folks to find them. You would need connections and access to the always changing gibberish based onion links to contact these killers. After all, who would openly advertise their services on a surface level site?
Number 3 on this list is Atlantic carding. The Thought Catalog writes once again, roughly 11 million Americans fall victim to credit card theft each year. Atlantic Card isn't helping. AC is a service that sells credit card information, addresses, and social security numbers. The more money you're willing to spend, the better your info. Big spenders can even get access to business accounts and infinite credit cards with no limit. Price ranges between $5 and $80 depending on the depth of information sold. It's reasonable pricing for the potential destruction of a stranger's life. The site boasts a credit card validity rate upward of 95%, anonymous communication via PGP encryption, and untraceable Bitcoin transaction. But keep in mind, if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. Agencies have been known to stage sting operations on the deep web with fake sites, such as 2010's Carter Profit. It's that easy, guys. Just drop a few bucks, and with that you can steal someone's identity and their credit card and put them in really serious debt. I'm so ignorant in regards to credit card theft and hacking and all the ins and outs of how it works, and I think that honestly makes this a little bit scarier. Like the fact that there's just a whole site where you can buy someone's card for $80 seems kind of ridiculous. What if we get unlucky and the card that they buy happens to be you or me? Granted, they probably look at mine and think to themselves why they'd want such a sad looking thing, but that is a complete total other story. Just be aware that somebody is just a click away from stealing your entire identity and totally altering your whole life. Number 2 on this list is the cookbook. During my research of the dark web, there were several stories about one site in particular that is especially gruesome and disgusting. It's a site dedicated to cooking, however it doesn't use your conventional ingredients. Rather than how to cook a quality pork roast or a good steak, this site specifically looks on how to cook one thing: women. Yeah, that's right guys, this site is 100% dedicated to cooking females. Metro writes, the most disturbing site we found was a comprehensive guide for cooking women. We're not talking about a short joke here. This page had information on what body types to use for specific cuts, how to prepare these cuts, and how to cook the girl so she lives as long as possible. Now I haven't actually seen exactly what this site is, and I'm honestly glad I haven't witnessed it in person because this is just next levels of sadistic stuff right here. We're talking about a full-on website that resembles something run by the Food Network except for humans. On this site, it said that you can find close to 100 different recipes. I think the scariest part about this is that it isn't a joke site either. This is a fully real site that takes itself seriously. And if the owners of this site take it seriously, then it also means that there are users who take it seriously and probably follow said recipes on a regular basis. It almost seems too sick and twisted to be real, but I'm sad to report that this is an actual thing that you could discover on the dark web. And finally, number 1 on this list is red rooms. This entry is truly just so sick, guys. Science and Technology writes, red rooms can be essentially classified as video portals. They are hidden pages in which the viewer can watch live a tour of a person and participate in such tour by contributing with ideas or requests. Depending on the money you pay, you can participate to a greater or lesser extent. Payment is made by using cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin to guarantee anonymity and avoid problems. This is honestly horrible, but the sad thing is this is kind of a tame definition of what actually goes on there. Murder, taking one's own life, horrific sexual things have all been said to go down on this dark portal of the internet. Nowadays, it's even been utilized by some organizations where they'll perform executions on there. Now there are some beliefs that these red rooms are just an internet hoax and they don't actually exist. And frankly, I hope that that's the case, but there have been a lot of stories of people stumbling upon them and witnessing firsthand the type of horrific stuff that goes on. This is a horrible part of the internet and something that I hope that you never need to discover for yourself.
Coming in at number 5, we have Nora Petrova. As a child just shy of high school, figure skater Nora Petrova happened upon her own Wikipedia Wikipedia page. Now its existence was already perplexing considering that she hadn't created it herself. What made it truly terrifying was that it seemingly predicted the future. Nora Petrova was born in Portland, Oregon, and at the age of 6 she began trying her hand at ice skating before transitioning into figure skating. It was the night before her first championship win that things started to take a strange turn for her. That night she was experiencing quite a bit of anxiety in anticipation for the competition, so she went on the internet. For fun, she googled her own name and ended up stumbling across the aforementioned Wikipedia page. The page said that she would win the next night's championship at Crystal Classic. When she would check her wiki page before competitions, it consistently and accurately predicted the victories at every single tournament. She worked hard in order to compete at the Olympics, so when it came time to try out for sectionals, she checked out the page. However, this time it said, Nora Petrova is a selfish little who is going to get what she deserves. Nora was desperate because her friend Bree was also competing and she didn't believe that she could beat her. In fact, at the tryouts, one of the blades on Bree's skate flew off and sliced Nora across the head, causing her to bleed. It was believed Nora sabotaged Bree's skate on purpose. Following the incident, she was banned from competition and it was becoming clear that the wiki page predictions were coming true. Consequently, the page continued to have horrible descriptions of Petrova and predicted one tragedy after another. One day she checked the page, with it saying that she would die penniless on the day before an audition. Nora was ultimately found dead at her computer in the Czech Republic. Coming in at number 4, we have Robert the Doll. In the late 1800s, Thomas Otto and his family moved into a mansion at the corner of Eaton and Simonton in Key West, Florida, now known as the Artist House. The family were known to be stern with their servants, sometimes even mistreating them. Now a woman was hired to take care of their son, Robert. One day Miss Otto supposedly witnessed her practicing black magic in their backyard and fired her. However, before she left, the woman gave Robert a lifelike doll which stood 3 feet tall, had buttons for eyes, human hair, and was filled with straw. Robert named the doll after himself and often dressed it in his own clothes. He took it everywhere with him. He even had a seat at the dinner table and would be tucked into bed at night. However, things quickly got very strange. Household objects would be found thrown around the room, with Robert's toys turning up mutilated, and giggling could also be heard. As the mischief grew, more and more servants took their leave as new ones were hired. The parents ended up removing Robert the doll and placing him in a box in the attic. This is where he resided for many years. Robert the doll would supposedly attack people, even locking them in the attic with him. People who passed by the home would claim to hear evil laughter coming from the turret room. The doll was later moved to the East Martello Museum in Key West, where he sits perched in a glass box.
Chewing their way in at number 3, we've got cannibals. In amongst the many seedy online markets is one that might make your stomach churn. With every possible vice being catered to, why wouldn't people with a penchant for human flesh make an appearance? There are plenty of folks looking to buy and sell human meat online. In fact, there are some folks who are really into the idea of being eaten by someone else. They say stuff like, I'm fresh, I'm juicy, come on and eat me. Seems like a sort of sexual compulsive thing. Very odd. In addition to the buying and selling of meat for the purpose of consumption, there are markets for products made from humans. There are customers and shopkeepers looking to exchange wallets and belts made from skin. Maybe even a full skin suit, kinda like Buffalo Bill. Or maybe a wallet made of something taken from a poor pill-popping woman, a la the house that Jack built. Who would want to own, let alone wear, some of this stuff? I'd really rather not know. Relatively recently, a man was caught using the dark web to plan the murder and consumption of a 13-year-old girl. He had been searching for a parent willing to let him kill and eat their daughter, and ended up communicating with an undercover agent posing as a father. They agreed on a meeting place, but when he showed up, he was not met by a young girl, but by the police. After being encouraged on the dark web, he was ready to go all the way through with it. Coming in at number 2, we've got Red Rooms. Think Videodrome. Red Rooms are basically live feeds of people being tortured in methodical and perverse ways. Some say you can pay to tell the operator what to do to the victim. It's hard to find verifiable sources of Red Rooms, but their existence isn't totally implausible. Reddit user Drowdan swears that one day he came across one by accident and hasn't been the same since. When he was in high school, he spent a lot of time using Tor on recommendation from his tech-savvy friend. Exploring, clicking links, just seeing how far he could get. Eventually he came across a forum called something along the lines of Think Evil, populated almost exclusively by people discussing very dark topics. Sexual assault, torture, long-term abuse tactics, cannibalism, you name it. Most of the posts were pretty old though. However, he noticed that someone had posted a link within the hour on the forum's main page. Red Room, going live soon. Morbid teenage curiosity made him click. He was directed to a live webcam chat room broadcasting what appeared to be the inside of an abandoned house. Front and center was a woman tied to a chair with a pillowcase over her body. A man with his face covered entered the frame and asked the audience what they wanted to see and how much they would pay. Someone ended up putting $500 on the line to see her beaten with a bat. Soon after, this bidder requested that the poor woman be killed. Another chat member asked Drowdan why he wasn't talking, which caused him to freak out and pull the plug on his computer. Needless to say, he wasn't going to head back there anytime soon. And finally at number 1, Peter Scully. I really don't want to discuss the grisly details of this, so I'll make it short. Peter Scully is an Australian serial killer made famous for running a pay-per-view site on the dark web. He and his partner Carmen Ann Alvarez would torture and assault young girls on camera for paying viewers. He was eventually brought to justice when 2 potential victims escaped and identified Alvarez, who then confessed and revealed all. Scully is currently serving a life sentence in the Philippines for his crimes, thank goodness. Even a stay in one of the world's most overstuffed prisons is too good for him. When asked why he did it, Scully said, "I don't know why I did it. I wasn't like that in Australia. I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse." Even if he's behind bars, the anonymous viewers on the dark web may very well still be at large. Coming in at number 5, we've got Caver. I have a very clear memory of first coming across this page. It leaves such a wild impression, it's hard to explain. Most of this Angel Fire site consists of text on a black background, which really doesn't sound too creepy, but can be really off-putting if you were reading through it in the dead of night. The website is a blog written by Ted, detailing his caving experience back in the early 2000s. Caving is another word for spelunking or potholing, depending on where you come from, which is the recreational pastime of exploring wild cave systems. Usually this means heading to a remote location and squeezing your way into pitch black passages and wriggling your way through unfamiliar territory. I don't know if I get it. So apparently Ted and his buddies found a new entrance to a cave network and wanted to find a way in. The things cavers do for a thrill, I will never understand. The stories Ted tells are terrifying, as most of this seems pretty dangerous and reckless, and if you've got claustrophobia, this story will just about make you implode. He details his attempts to crawl through a bunch of passages barely wide enough for a human body with no guarantee that there's another side to pop out on. At points he's completely immobile, save for a bit of room to move his hands or feet. Why? His text-based tale is accompanied by some early digital images which look about as pleasant as being stuffed into the trunk of a small car. There's one of just his head, and that's all you can see is his head, and the rest of him is crammed into a tunnel, and I can honestly say I get chills every time I look at it. Eventually, Ted comes across some hieroglyphics of sorts, which is weird because supposedly nobody had accessed this cave system before, and he promises to explore further and update the readers as he discovers more. However, after promising more and leaving readers on a bit of a cliffhanger, Ted mysteriously stopped uploading. The last post was made in May of 2001 and he hasn't been heard from since. And because these posts were made in an era where the internet was a little more anonymous, it's unlikely that Ted will be tracked down. Did he find himself in an inescapable position? Did he discover something he'd maybe rather forget? Or maybe he found himself between a rock and a hard place. Coming in at number 4, we've got the simulation argument. Do you ever feel like the world we live in doesn't quite work the way it's supposed to? Notice any cracks in the facade? Maybe a pair of twins that look too similar? Or a woman in a red dress who just keeps walking by? If you've ever thought that we might be living in a simulation, then this is the site for you. And if you think it's totally crazy, the time and effort people put into finding plausible evidence might cause you to reconsider that position a little bit. The simulation argument is a website that compiles all sorts of academic research papers, theories, and data pointing towards the fact that we're all living in a simulation. It's constantly updated with new information and analysis with all sorts of different views on the subject. Sure, it might seem a little far-fetched, but it's just another way to look at the world, right? And if you look long enough and find yourself making similar conclusions as the person running the site, where do you go from there? If the whole world is a lie, how do you continue living your life? Are your choices different now? Do you try to break free? Can humans evolve past our current state? I'm not going to tell you how to think about this hypothesis, but I will encourage you to give it a good old-fashioned think and see where you land. Maybe you'll come out the other side knowing Kung Fu.
Coming in at number 3, the Russian sleep experiment. At this point, the Russian sleep experiment is known by most across the internet, with it being one of the most popular urban legends to take flight on the creepypasta wiki. It tells the story of 5 test subjects who were exposed to an experimental sleep-inhibiting stimulant and in a Soviet-era scientific experiment. The urban legend recounts an experiment that took place at a test facility in the Soviet Union in the late 40s. In a military-sanctioned scientific experiment, 5 political prisoners were kept in a sealed gas chamber with a continually administered airborne stimulant for the purpose of keeping the subjects away for 30 continuous days. The prisoners were falsely promised freedom if they completed the experiment. The subjects at first behaved normally, talking to each other and whispering to the researchers through the one-way glass, though it was very quickly noted that their conversations became much darker. After 9 days, one subject began screaming uncontrollably for hours, while others seemingly had no reaction to the outburst. The man screamed for so long that he tore his vocal cords. Not long after, a second patient started screaming as well, with the others preventing the researchers from looking in by pasting torn book pages and their own feces on the porthole windows. On the 15th day, the researchers decided to turn off the stimulating gas and reopen the chamber. Upon looking inside, they discovered that the 4 surviving subjects had performed lethal and severe mutilation and disembowelment on themselves during the past few days, including tearing off flesh and muscles. They also violently refused to leave the chamber, murdering one soldier who attempted to do so. The Russian sleep experiment became immensely popular upon publication and is considered to be one of the greatest creepypastas on the internet. Coming in at number 2, we have the clown statue. Now, this urban legend was originally published in September of 2011, with it being one of the more popular tales to sweep the internet. So, what's it about? Well, it goes like this. A girl was babysitting for some family friends one evening, a little boy and a little girl. The parents had a fetish for clowns and in turn had collected clowns from around the world for years, setting aside a room in the house just to put them all on display. That night, the children were playing in the clown room, with many of the statues being small. However, a couple were life-size. One in particular was seated in a small childlike rocking chair. Over the course of the evening, the babysitter began to feel more and more uneasy. She felt as though the eyes of the clown were following her whenever she moved around the room. So she called the parents, asking them if she could move the clown in the rocking chair because it was beginning to scare them. With that, the mother told the babysitter to quickly grab the children and get out of the house, to go to the neighbors across the street, and that she would call back immediately. Frightened and confused, the babysitter obliged, grabbing the kids and running out of the home. When the parents finally arrived, they explained that one of their neighbors was mentally ill and had been giving them problems. On numerous occasions, he had snuck into their home and tried to kidnap the children. This time, he dressed up in a clown suit, painted his face, and waited patiently until the opportunity arose. Very, very creepy indeed. Unless number 1, maybe don't have an entire room in your house dedicated to clown statues. Just a thought. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Mr. Bear. Mr. Bear is the titular character from Mr. Bear's Cellar, the main show of Cannibalism Local 21. According to this incredibly creepy tale, the show had 31 episodes, 6 of which are described in detail. Mr. Bear is the host of the show, a man in a bear costume. Sometimes he only wears a bear mask and dons adult male clothes. And in most episodes, he has a child come visit him in his cellar. It is also noted that he has a fascination with orange juice. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the specific episodes. The known episodes that have been documented are 12, 23, 24, 25, 28, 30, and 31. Now this urban legend begins with our narrator Elliot recounting the show, which was an eerie public access television series. One episode involved Mr. Bear asking children to write him letters. A young Elliot ended up writing one in 1999 and ended up getting a response back, telling him to come to an address in Cannibalism. When Elliot's father took him there, police were excavating the house, and Elliot never heard from Cannibalism Local 21 again. Jumping forward to present day, Elliot would go on to investigate the history of Cannibalism Local 21, eventually finding a police station with several tapes from the channel. And after watching the final episode of the show, in which Mr. Bear burned some people alive, Elliot quickly realizes that he could have met the very same fate. Now this urban legend spread like wildfire around the internet, with some readers even creating their own fan-made recreations of the episodes, which is slightly concerning. But if you want to check it out, the original story is still available online for you to read, and warning, it ends on quite the cliff.
Number 5 on this list is Ghost Island of Japan. The Ghost Island of Japan is what people have been calling Hashima Island. Now we've talked a bit about Hashima Island on this channel before because Hashima Island is one of the most haunted islands on the planet. The Little House of Horrors says the buildings were built by Korean and Chinese prisoners who were forced to work here from 1930 to just after World War II. The conditions of these forced laborers were hard and some never made it back home.
The people who worked here named the island Jail Island or even Hell Island. After the war, the Japanese came to the island to work here themselves. The island population had its peak population in 1959. More than 5,000 people worked and lived on Hashima Island. And because the island wasn't very big, this meant they had 5 feet living space each. In 1974, the mines started to run out of coal and people left the island. Soon, the island's uninhabited parts were reclaimed by nature. The weather conditions started affecting the concrete and buildings started falling apart. Sometimes people camped out here, but that was a very dangerous thing to do. The government wanted to discourage people from going over on their own and therefore decided to open it to the public. Fishermen who sail near the island claim they have seen strange flickering lights in the buildings even though the island has no electricity. Strange noises have been heard and cold spots have been felt. People say they had the sensation of being watched, and there are some claims of people that have been touched by unseen hands. So clearly this island is housing some type of evil there. It's rumored that the people who died deep within the mines, their spirits are still there and have even taken to a few of the corpses that were left behind. Evil, dead humans running around and ghosts of all types, not the sort of island you'd want to see. Well, that's exactly what the Ghost Island of Japan lets you do. You can basically scroll through the entire island looking through the abandoned buildings and broken infrastructure. The website itself is super creepy, and what you're looking at is even more so. Some people who have studied these Google Earth photos have claimed that they've seen spirits in them. I'd say go check it out for yourself, but that would mean you have to go visit the website, and I really don't think that doing that is the best idea. Number 4 on this list is the Nightmare Machine. I made the mistake of visiting this website when researching for this video, and I honestly thoroughly regret it at this point. Alvaro Trigo says the Nightmare Machine scary website features horrific images generated by artificial intelligence. Although these images aren't real, as they're generated by AI, they often resemble real objects, places, or anything that you can relate to. This one-page website issues a warning to all visitors immediately when they land on the website, preparing them for what is to come when navigating through their page. That warning says, "Warning. Images on this website are generated by deep learning algorithms and may not be suitable for all users. They contain scary content." And that content is assuredly scary, as witnessed by me. The scariest part about this website is that it's all real things. I saw the algorithm take the Colosseum in Rome and turn it into this dark and evil environment that looked extremely apocalyptic. I also saw them generate faces of humans and turn these into these grotesque Trevor Henderson looking creatures. And I think maybe the worst part about this site, and what really gets me, is the fact that it's a robot making these creations. I've always been rather scared and very cognizant of the fact that artificial intelligence and robots could one day take over the planet. They could get smarter than us humans and enslave us and make us work for them. Seeing this AI draw out these grotesque, disfigured human faces just got me thinking about the type of things that robots could do to us. This AI is trained to create scary looking things. If this AI ever grew to like making scary looking things, then we could be in trouble.
Driving in at number 3, we've got the fifth nail. Everyone has the ability to put their thoughts and opinions on the internet these days. No matter who you are, where you're from, you can let the world know exactly what you're thinking about. This has led to a whole lot of discussion and disagreements, especially between people with views that are at odds with each other. Sometimes this can be a good thing, as it can get many people out of their comfort zones and learning new perspectives, and other times it can be downright disturbing, especially if you're reading the rantings of a serial killer. The Fifth Nail is a blog run by Joseph E. Duncan III, who committed his first crime at the age of 15. The crime? He sexually assaulted a 9-year-old boy at gunpoint. Following this, he attacked and killed multiple other young children. In 2005, before he was a convicted murderer, Duncan began writing blog posts. He would rant and rave while painting himself as a deep thinker with a rational explanation for everything he's ever done. None of this will matter in 100 years. I feel the pain of people I've hurt. I'm not a psychopath. I follow the path of God. I will be righteous. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the impression I get when I read these early posts. In relation to religion, the fifth nail is actually a biblical reference to one of the nails meant to be used in the crucifixion of Christ. Does this serial killer rapist see himself as a Christ-like figure, as someone unfairly treated? Yikes. He also has problems with the prison industrial system and makes many arguments that add up to an eye for an eye and makes the whole world blind. These are legitimate arguments, but are also weakened when coming from a depraved individual like Duncan. He's on death row now and apparently still posting. The last entry went up in January and was him talking about Thanksgiving on death row. It seems that he's dictating from prison and having somebody else upload for him. The more you read, the more you see that his criminal mind has an answer for every misdeed, an explanation for every wrongdoing. It goes to show that folks can come up with anything to enable their own awful actions. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Dianaa house. What begins as two friends exchanging correspondence in response to some upsetting news quickly devolves into an insane, twisty-turny, eldritch horror story about a house that may or may not exist. It's pretty cool. This collection of blogs and emails and other assorted posts was uploaded by Eric Heiserer, well known for writing the screenplays for the modern Nightmare on Elm Street and The Thing. At one point, there was an actual website where updates would be posted, but now you've got to go and find an archive to get the full experience. The tale is well worth the read though, with an assortment of truly haunting twists and turns. Reading it now, it feels just as real as it did back then. This is an example of how a creepypasta can go above and beyond, both in terms of content and structure. All sorts of extra details are embedded throughout, and they take you to different websites, news clippings, blog posts, and more. It's immersive and spine-tingling. In fact, if I didn't know any better, I think these events might have actually happened. The name of the house is a little on the nose though. Look it up. It's quite clever. And finally, swooping in at number 1, we've got white enamel. Speaking of immersive experiences, white enamel puts you in the shoes of someone exploring an abandoned hospital in the best possible way. Or worse, depending on how scared you get. The site is a sprawling point-and-click adventure taking you through the Glenfield State Psychiatric Hospital. While that might sound sort of dry, it is anything but. The experience is chock full of creepy archival footage, disturbing and disquieting sounds, and songs from the area in which the hospital operated. The whole thing feels sort of like I Spy on PC, but way creepier. And it's browser-based. There are 6 episodes to play through, taking you through various wings of the institution and providing you with information related to its storied history. I don't want to tell you too much, because it's something best experienced blind.
And at number 5, we have the Max Headroom hack. For those who don't know, Max Headroom was a fictional British AI character who was introduced in early 1985. He was dubbed the first computer-generated TV personality, even though the appearance was achieved with an actor in prosthetic makeup in front of a blue screen, so not really AI at all. He was known for his glitchy, indecipherable speech, with him being designed to replicate popular news broadcasters. Jumping forward 2 years to 1987, and someone dressed as Max Headroom interrupted 2 Chicago television channels, one during the 9 o'clock news on WGN-TV, and the other during an episode of Doctor Who at 11 o'clock. During these 2 interruptions, the hacker rambled, seemingly replicating Max Headroom and his endorsement of New Coke and WGN anchor Chuck Swirsky, with the interruption concluding with the hacker exposing himself and being spanked with a fly swatter. The video then cut and things returned to normal. To this day, people have no idea who the hacker was or the reasoning behind the interruption, with no one ever being caught. Spooky stuff. It's actually really funny. And if I was going to interrupt a show, I would interrupt Doctor Who, because it's shit. Before we jump into number 4, be sure to hit the like button, it really helps us out a lot. In at number 4, I Feel Fantastic. Now this video is just straight up creepy and confusing, and I don't know how to feel about it because I don't quite know what is going on. Essentially, the entire video follows an animatronic mannequin known as Tara the Android, who jerks her arms and moves around in a very strange manner while a song plays in the background with a lot of synth, repeating the lyric, I feel fantastic. And I can tell you right now, this video does not make you feel fantastic, it makes you feel very uncomfortable. Now things remain the same until we cut to a shot of the outside, whether it be the woods or someone's backyard, we have no idea. But then we return inside and the song begins to change, with it now repeating the lyrics, please leave and run, 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 run. Creepy. Now there isn't much legitimate information about the video, but people did begin to accuse the uploader of murder, with rumors swirling that he committed a crime in the outdoor shot of the video, and Tara the android was wearing the victim's clothes. Viewers are of course torn about the video though, with some believing that the video is offering up clues to the fate of the real Tara, whoever that may be, but ultimately we may never know what this video truly means, nor do I care to learn.
Number 3, Croatian stalker. Do you ever feel like someone might be watching you? I know I do, quite a lot, although it could be because someone is watching me right now, you're watching me right now, but I also just mean in my day-to-day. It's spine-chilling to imagine that somebody's following you without you realizing for gosh knows what and trailing you around, preventing you from feeling safe. This next video, appropriately and concisely titled Croatian Stalking Tape, is a footage of two men recording themselves being pursued by a masked stranger. And according to the uploader, this was the last time either of them were ever seen. The video was uploaded not by anyone in the video, but rather a third party who somehow got a hold of it. And the only evidence we can find for it is that he claims it was recorded in 2005 and is a piece of evidence in a missing persons case for these two individuals. In the video, we can clearly see the two friends initially enjoying a night on the town together when they're apprehended by a very strange man wearing a sack over his head. You know, normal stuff. At first, the sack-clad man appears, well, I don't want to say friendly per se, but he's not outwardly hostile. Just bizarre. Slouching and bending and walking in a way that kind of intones that either it's not a human or it's a human who's had a really long night. The two friends then try their best to elude the pursuer, who does not seem keen on letting them go. They try to lose him by making their way to a hotel lobby, where they proceed to call for an elevator to try and find some respite from their stalker, only for the elevator door to open and show them the last thing they could have ever wanted to see, as they are face to face with the sack man and the doors close. If the video uploader is to be believed, this could really be the last thing they ever saw. It was hard to try and find any more information about this video. I did some digging, but I couldn't get any solid answers as to where this came from, who these people were, and if they really went missing. There's some speculation that it could be a very elaborate fake, which is always a possibility. Let me know if anybody's got any intel on this one. Number 2, video dating. Hey, dating is hard. We've all been there. Let me tell you, since that Dahmer show dropped on Netflix, it's not been easy for me. In today's world, it can be so hard to meet that perfect match, especially if you're on the brink of sanity. This video, uploaded and titled Video Dating Tape, was allegedly found in the VCR purchased at a car boot sale, which, if you're not familiar with that term, it's kind of like an English flea market where you sell stuff out of your cars. The VHS is a low-quality clip of someone innocently enough trying to prevent themselves for a video dating service. It starts with a 36-year-old man, Tony, kind of awkwardly explaining what he's all about. You know how they go. We've all been there. Where it starts to get unsettling, though, is the discordant screaming that we can hear in the background. And the guy in the video seems like he's mentally degrading very fast.
Someone that can
He starts smacking himself in the head in frustration, tripping over his words, and accidentally revealing probably a lot more than he means to. Especially when he starts to say funny, flirty little things like, I'm looking for someone who doesn't mind disappearing for a long time, and cute little sweet nothings like, I'm looking for someone who likes a long walk on the beach, and someone I can spend the rest of their life with. Now the video is almost too perfect, you know? And the only thing that makes you wonder if maybe it's not a fake is just how convincingly creepy this 36-year-old bachelor is acting. If anyone has got some answers for this one, please let me know, because this one really did send a chill down my spine trying to watch it. And hey, if anyone wants, at the end of the video, Tony left his address if you'd like to reach out to him if you like pina coladas getting caught in the rain and want to spend the rest of your life with him. Number 1, Sad Satan. Sad Satan is a deeply mysterious, lost video game, allegedly emanating from the dark web. And it's wrapped in intrigue and controversy and has all the makings of a great classic internet urban legend. The game first came into the mainstream when the owner of the now defunct Obscure Horror Corner YouTube channel was sent a link to this strange game, with the sender saying that they found it on a deep web page where users could post random files. The actual game's contents are deeply disturbing and unsettling. It truly feels like something you were never meant to see. There's not a whole lot of depth to the gameplay. It just features the player wandering down maze after maze of monochromatic hallways. A strange audio plays all around you from all sorts of sources, like an old Swedish number station, disembodied, blood-curdling screams. In some versions of the game, there are enemies that appear to be ghostly children figures standing in the maze with you. Images flash repeatedly through the gameplay, featuring pictures of notorious criminals. Audio from recordings of criminals like Charles Manson can be heard and seen. The game ends rather abruptly. If you run into any of the haunted children in the game, they'll end you and the game will be over. The mystery behind Sad Satan is arguably bigger than the game itself. Where did it come from? To date, no one truly knows who developed it or why or what their intentions even were. After the game became big thanks to the Obscure Horror Corner, there was a drove of interest in the game, leading to sinister double copies being passed around online masquerading as the real one. And these variants would include things like illegal content inside the game or dangerous malware, as users had reported that their computers would act sluggish or even outright shut down irreversibly after downloading the widely released copy. The obscure horror channel shut down after Sad Satan started to get attention, leading to a ton of speculation there. Was the original uploader of the video the creator of the game and he was trying to garner some sort of viral reputation for it? Or did he feel some sort of guilt or responsibility for getting this game out into the mainstream? It's been years and we're still no closer to getting any of the answers on this.
Number 5 on this list is fixed match buy-in. Fixed match buy-in is a way for people who visit this site to bet on sports matches around the globe that are actually fixed and their outcome has been previously determined. Maybe for some of you this isn't scary, but for me, a guy who literally runs his own YouTube channel / podcast about the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team, my channel's called Blue Jays Today, feel free to check it out, just a mildly shameless plug. But anyways, for me and for sports fans in general, this is some pretty serious stuff. For the longest time, fixed sports games have been something that the public has speculated upon. The authorities who run said sports games have vehemently denied such allegations, but this fixed match buy-in proves that these allegations are real. The Thought Catalog says that the FMBI fixes matches with at least a 2-to-1 payout. It also requires a $20,000 minimum buy-in, with 50% of your winnings going toward the site's service fees, though after the fixed match, the $20,000 buy-in is then returned to your Bitcoin account and everyone wins except for the athletes. Although FMBI cannot prove its authenticity, as doing so would require to reveal transaction details or match information that could jeopardize their network, they claim to be quite busy with weekly matches in several different sports. They say that they're involved in multiple sports, but the one that has the most potential is probably European football. For the longest time, people have believed that the league owners have a say in how things play out and who comes out on top. The nature of the sport makes it one of the easiest ones to tamper with, considering how subjective penalties are and that most matches are usually decided by a single goal. As a sports fan, I hate the thought that matches might be fixed, but based on this, might have to come to terms with it. Also, side note, but comment down below if you guys are a sports fan and the team that you support. Would love to hear. Number 4 on this list is cheap swatting service. Swatting, according to Thought Catalog, is the act of obtaining a victim's IP address and then anonymously and falsely reporting a critical incident such as a bomb threat or hostage situation to that location. The SWAT team then arrives on scene, kicks down a few doors, and generally disrupts everyone's day while costing taxpayers thousands of dollars, and it's huge on YouTube right now. Though the affected have extended all the way to politicians and pop stars, most instigators and victims are gamers who get attacked as a result of a bitter online rivalry. Swatting is also a service that you can buy on the deep web through cheap swatting service. CSS offers 3 options for the customer: $5 for a mild situation, $10 for a little worse where they'll bring many people and raid them, and then $20 for the SWAT team to come and they can just do anything. Despite penalties of up to 25 years to life, stiff sentences for the convicted have done little to curb this growing trend. This is because swatters are able to keep risks and subsequently service prices low by relying on simple and difficult to trace methods of police contact. Disposable phones, phone number encryption, and internet call services such as Skype have all proven cheap and invaluable tools for the common swatter. I want to just emphasize what they said about the $20 option there, folks. They can do anything. A SWAT team will literally show up to your home, and if they perceive a threat, you could actually be killed. Any number of things could go wrong with this whole scenario. Not to mention that this is a horrible allocation of resources, and if an incident occurred where we actually did need the SWAT team while someone was swatting, then whoever actually needs them is going to be in serious trouble. This is also the perfect way to frame someone for a crime if you ever did want to do such a thing. Plant some evidence and then call the SWAT team in and bam, they're done. This is way too much power for a standard person to have and seems like a really dangerous way to spend 20 bucks. Number 3 on this list is Fright Find. Fright Find is a really good name for the website because that's basically what you'll be doing on it, finding fright. The whole premise of this website is to bring you closer to ghosts and hauntings. Actually, the small little About Us section of their website says, Fright Find brings you closer to the paranormal by finding and reviewing the scariest haunted houses, fear attractions, and haunted hotels near you. If you want to catch a thrill or experience a real haunted place, then we can get you there. Let's say that you move to a nice neighborhood in California. It's the suburbs and everything is pretty picturesque. Your neighbors are nice, you get a paper delivered to the front door, there's a park in the middle of the subdivision with a field where the kids all play. When it's summertime, there are birds chirping, the hum of lawnmowers going, and the sound of an ice cream truck patrolling the area. You think it's perfect, right up until you check Fright Find. Turns out, that nice neighbor who keeps inviting you over for a barbecue 2 doors down, well, the house that guy lives in is deeply haunted. A murder took place there, and now a demon resides in the house and is said to take people's souls straight to hell. Now, I'm making all of this up right now, but I think you get the idea. Fright Find allows you to locate all of the haunted houses around you, and it tells you what happened there and what type of ghost or entity is haunting them now. Some of these homes you may have heard of before, but a lot of them you haven't, and they could be right next to you. Knowledge truly is power, guys, but also sometimes, ignorance is bliss. Number 2 on this list is Homicide Monitor. I understand the purpose of this website, I do get it, but it really is scary. Alvaro Trigo says, Homicide Monitor is one of the scariest and most dangerous websites ever created. This creepy website features a map showing all murder cases happening on Earth. It provides visitors scary information which often varies yearly about homicide incidents that occurred in recent times. It also includes a drop-down menu where you can choose any nation to know the exact murder cases that occurred there. So again, this makes sense. I get it. It's kind of important information to know where there are a lot of murders taking place. Like maybe I want to book a vacation, but I check this thing first just to be safe. Also, just in terms of being at home too, this could be a good information tool. But there's also the other side to all of this where I check it, and then I realize that a murder is being investigated just down the street from where I live. How is that going to make me feel? Once again, I want to reiterate that it's good information to have, and if there is a killer on the loose, then I probably want to know so I can protect myself. It's just really creepy regardless. Checking this website can be very eye-opening, which can be a good thing, but just be aware that it comes at a cost. And finally, number 1 on this list is plane crash info. Do not go onto this website, guys. Seriously, I'm kind of shocked this thing hasn't been taken down because it really isn't cool. Mood Swag says, this website is ironically owned by an organization called Perfect Privacy LLC. It has MP3 transcriptions of passengers crying and panicking moments before their planes crash. It's really dark stuff to say the least. The website also has a list of accident photos, unusual accidents, famous deaths, and more. This website will definitely take you on a ride of dark, creepy stories. There are some things that just need to be left alone, and the audio recording of a plane going down, that's one of them. I understand that this media needs to be investigated and looked into after the crash has occurred to understand why the crash happened in the first place. But once that investigation is concluded, that's it. There is no need to be looking into stuff after that's done, in my opinion. I didn't end up going to this website to research this video, I just read up on it from other people who have visited it. I really don't think that there's any good reason to be going to a thing like this, and frankly, I don't even think it should be a thing.
Alright, we're starting off today with a tamer video. Let's just ease into it, folks. We've got bank accounts for sale. Back in September of last year, a criminologist unearthed a video of a multi-billion-dollar transnational criminal organization that has been stealing from the US government since the Panini and selling generative artificial intelligence tools to other criminals. The 58-second clip, which was meant for the dark web, opens with a person who goes by Sanchez, covered head to toe in black clothing, and speaking behind a black skeleton mask with someone else who appears to be digging a grave behind him. He said, "Yes, I sell Chase bank accounts. Yes, I am one of the first people to sell fake bank accounts 4 years ago. We started with my partner 4 years ago. Now we are about 30 people in one office." So as Sanchez speaks, the camera shifts from a face-to-face point of view with him to one looking up from what appears to be a hole with ominous music in the background. The video was uncovered by David Maiman, a criminologist and professor at Georgia State University, who provided context to the video in a LinkedIn post. This was an update to some of his concerned customers who haven't seen him online on the underground market for a couple of weeks, according to the expert. Now, these groups are behind most of the global panini fraud that cost the country billions and are now using generative AI to remain hidden while expanding their criminal empire. However, that is a drop in the bucket to the $1 trillion or more that these groups can steal from the US government over the next year using AI. Experts use the example of somebody submitting a dozen unemployment applications with stolen identities during the panini. So in reality, those who commit government fraud and get caught are the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole machine behind them that at this point closely resembles the 20th century Italian mob or modern day drug cartels. On the dark web, there is a fraud as a service industry run by international cyber gangs from all around the world, including Russia, Nigeria, and China, among dozens of others. The one depicted in the video is called Mega Darknet Market, which experts said is one of the biggest enterprises in the world. This video gave the first glimpse into how these organizations sell mule accounts, which is a bank account set up with a stolen identity, as well as generative AI and deepfake tools to other criminals. Now, these international enterprises are arming other criminals across the globe with AI tech and tools to execute sextortion scams, which generally target young folks, young adults, and have led to the end of lives. The US government is the primary target though, and AI-powered technology allows them to rob government agencies and go poof. So, innocent video, whole lot of backstory, big iceberg. We only know so much. Alrighty, if this next video is truly real, it's gonna hurt my soul. It's from user UFOs on Tiamat originally, but I can't seem to find the original upload anymore. It starts off with a young looking girl sleeping on the floor of a dingy room. Now there's a wooden table and a bunch of unidentifiable clutter. Apparently the camera being used was recording her for about 13 hours at that time, which was terrifying to think about. Suddenly, what appears to be a box either falls off a bookshelf or is thrown in via an unknown opening in the corner of the room and startles our sleeping victim. From what we know, the girl has barricaded herself in the room with the debris that we see, and it changes frames, and the poor thing is now eating from what we believe is a limited stock of food. Eventually, she realizes that there is indeed a camera filming her and huddles in the middle of the room. She makes a sign on white paper that she holds up to the camera, and it says that she has run out of water and is pleading with anybody who is watching for help. She mentions that she has been locked up in her current location for around 5 days and she doesn't know where she is. Afterwards, we see her return to her pile of blankets in the middle of the room and clutch a pink blanket for comfort. The poor girl is so disheveled, which has led internet sleuths to ponder if this footage is from one of the much rumored red rooms that are supposedly plenty on the dark web. Now, these rooms have gained a lot of attention and infamy, with many rumors and myths circulating about their existence and operation. While some folks believe that red rooms are nothing more than urban legends, a lot of other people claim to have witnessed them firsthand, so this might have been from that. As a matter of fact, on Reddit, 4chan, Hidden Wiki, which is kind of a cliff notes for dark web beginners, you can find people trading second, third, fourth-hand accounts of red rooms that have opened and closed over the years. The concept of red rooms, by the way, first appeared on the dark web sometime in the early 2010s, and their name derives from the color of the room where the supposed acts take place. Now, this room isn't red, but make of that what you will. The term red room gained popularity specifically after a Japanese animation featured a pop-up ad asking, "Do you like the red room?" If users attempted to close the ad, a full-sized window would open with the names of individuals who had supposedly accessed the red room before and were found dead. The idea is that viewers pay to watch a live stream of a person being tormented and eventually killed, and they can even interact with the tormentor and other viewers through chat or messaging functions. So sadly, the video that we have today ended with somebody knocking down the girl's barricade and getting inside the room, so I shudder to think of what we didn't see.
In at number 3, Sad Satan. Sad Satan is truly a disturbing video that the more you watch makes less and less sense, and instead creates a feeling of uneasiness and dread. Uploaded back in 2015 by YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner, Sad Satan was said to have originated off of the dark web and was supposedly a game named after the Led Zeppelin song Stairway to Heaven. Backstory: around the time the song was released, many religious groups came forward stating that the song was hiding subliminal messages praising the devil, and that if you played the song backwards it would be revealed. Back to the game though, if we can really call it that, considering there isn't much playability to it whatsoever. It's more so an experience, an incredibly trippy and disturbing experience at that. You essentially make your way through a series of dark and eerie passageways as images flash on your screen, from Jimmy Savile to Rolf Harris, 2 TV presenters in the UK who were found guilty of abuse. And that's all I can say in order for this video to go up. Due to this discovery, many have questions about the game and its true intentions. On top of that, there also exists another version of Sad Satan. However, the second version is much darker and contains many illegal images and viruses. Where it originally came from, folks still don't know. However, many have begun to question whether it in fact did hail from the dark web, or whether Obscure Horror Corner exaggerated these claims. In at number 2, the Elisa Lam footage. This is a video that still haunts the internet, simply because we have no answers to what actually happened to Elisa Lam in February of 2013. Elisa Lam was a Canadian student from the University of British Columbia who was discovered dead in a water tank atop the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles on February 19, 2013. She had been reported missing at the beginning of the month, with police investigating and even releasing elevator footage from inside of the hotel of Elisa. The footage itself is what is most concerning, as Elisa was acting very strange. She appears to enter and exit the elevator a number of times, pressing different buttons with the doors refusing to close. She tries again, but nothing. She appears to be distressed throughout the video, even pressing her palms over her ears, rubbing her arms and pressing herself up against the back of the elevator. It's all very strange. Now, on the morning of the 19th of February, many guests at the Cecil Hotel began to complain of poor water pressure and a strange taste, and that was when authorities discovered Lam's body inside of the hotel's water tank. The peculiar thing is that her death was deemed an accident, with there being no signs of foul play. Despite the investigation being closed, many people returned to this creepy video, believing that there was more at play than just accidental death. Perhaps someone or something else was involved. What are your thoughts though? And finally, coming in at number 1, Blank Room Soup. Thought to have originated from the deep web, this disturbing and baffling video uploaded back in 2008 is one that is incredibly hard to explain. It begins with a man with blacked out eyes sitting at a table eating a bowl of cereal with a giant wooden spoon, and then from behind him appears a man in all black wearing a giant head. He approaches the man at the table and begins stroking his head, almost trying to comfort him. A second man with the giant head also appears and does the same thing, with both men comforting the man eating cereal, who also appears to be crying. It's all very odd and nothing quite makes sense. It sort of appears like a hostage situation, but the heads are by far the scariest part. Now, when it was first uploaded back in 2008, the video was taken simply as a joke and no one thought much of it. However, years had passed and no one has stepped forward to take credit for the video, which has added a sense of fear and mystery around it. Now, some backstory. The video was initially sent to Raymond Percy, as the characters in the video were his creation that he used in a show he did called Sunset Club. The costumes were stolen from a parked car, and not long after he received this video, meaning the people who stole the outfits must be the people in the video. Some theories have been floating around the internet as to what is going on, with some saying the man is being forced to eat human remains, while others speculate that he is about to die, which is why he is crying. Either way, we'll never know, as no one has yet to claim the video. Coming in at number 5, Ederim. Holding the title of the creepiest person on YouTube is a big feat, especially considering YouTube is filled with all sorts of creepy people and nightmares that will haunt you while you sleep. However, there's someone out there on the platform that fits the entire description. His name is Edward Mascare, also known as Ederim. Now, when you first look at the channel, it just seems like some regular old man trying his best to scare children. However, if you take a look at some of his videos, you will discover some of the creepiest things you are ever going to watch on the internet. Now, some of the videos are outright creepy, others are comical, but it's once you learn the dark history of this man that things become truly terrifying. What may look like a video of just an old guy dancing to Pretty Woman, things get disturbing once you discover he was imprisoned for sexual battery and ultimately died in jail. However, his legacy lives on through his horrifically creepy videos that will most definitely keep you up tonight. Coming in at number 4, YouTuber records their neighbor 7,000 times. A channel by the name of This, which is simply Angry Neighbor spelled backwards, is a channel created by a person who was seemingly fed up with their noisy neighbors next door, so he/she decided they would record them and post the audio clips online for all to listen to. Now, it perhaps doesn't sound that crazy. The reasoning could be anything. Maybe they couldn't get the authorities to act, so they took matters into their own hands and got the evidence they needed. However, this is where things got a little odd. They didn't just record 1 or 2 noisy parties. No, instead they recorded over 7,400 clips of the noisy neighbors. Yep, you heard me correctly, 7,400. However, what's odd about the entire thing is that most of these audio clips are completely innocuous. The sounds of people calmly talking or simply laughing. Other clips are just the sounds of faint conversations happening. Take a listen. This instead means that the uploader is recording voices only they can hear, considering the noises we hear are just the standard sounds of people living their day-to-day lives. The reason this is so creepy is simply because we have no idea what's going on and we likely never will know. One audio recording that was uploaded is about drums and construction, which does have a little noise. Around halfway through the video there are two bangs that come from the neighbours, we assume anyway. However, saying that the loudest noise in the video is sounds of crickets, as well as the sound of cracking twigs as though someone is sneaking around on another person's property and attempting to remain hidden. However, the creepiest part happens around 3 minutes 28 seconds when you can clearly hear children's feet running past the recorder, meaning they either planted the recorder in the home or they are crouching in the bushes spying on children. It's all very concerning and bizarre.
Alrighty, time to move on to a plague doctor. This black and white video comes in at about 2 minutes in length and features somebody dressed as, well, a plague doctor. The outfit was designed to keep airborne illnesses from infecting those treating victims with various diseases and includes a long dark beak-like mask with a black shroud that covers the wearer's entire body. In this video, a person wearing what appears to be the costume is recorded walking around an abandoned building in the middle of a forest, revealed in the background through shattered windows. Now, on its own, that video wouldn't be scary enough to make today's list. Heck, it wouldn't even be scary enough to make any of my lists. It would just be something I send people on TikTok to laugh. But just wait for it, it's gonna get weirder. Playing throughout the video are shrill buzzing noises. The person carries around an irregularly blinking light, which they occasionally hold up to the camera. It was sent to gadgetzzz.com, a Swedish tech blog back in 2015, and the website immediately made it public. Embedded within the video are several common ciphers and encryption systems. Some lead to images of tormented and mutilated people. Most were decoded by users following the video via a Reddit thread. Now, the detectives were able to create a rather lengthy link to the investigations of the Boston rope necklacer. The messages have also been interpreted as an implied threat of bio-bad acts against the US. Look folks, there's words I can't say. 3 months after the initial controversy, a man by the name of Parker Warner Wright stepped forward and claimed to have created and sent the video. He said a sequel was in the works and challenged anyone to try replicating the segment. Yet no thank you. After the last couple of years, I think the last thing anybody wants to see more of are plague doctors, any mention of a plague, torment. I know of independent haunted attractions that lost so much money by having to retheme all of their plague areas post Panini, and I don't want to see them hurt anymore. And I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Here's a doozy for you to ponder over. Not a haunted doll, but a demonic android. A spooky animatronic mannequin known as Tara the Android can be seen in this video, its arms jerking and head turning from side to side, while the lyric, "I feel fantastic," repeats over a synth line. It was uploaded to YouTube by the user creepyblog, who hasn't uploaded any other clips as of the time of me saying this. Really, not much happens in the video besides the repeated phrase and the robotic movement of Tara's arms and head, but where the clip gets freaky is 2 brief moments nestled between Tara's performance. First, viewers are given a brief view of the outdoors, what looks like the edge of a forest, or possibly somebody's backyard. The camera zooms in on a pile of sticks, leaves, and dirt. Second are the phrases positioned in some of Tara's song, "Please leave," followed by the repetition of "Run, run, 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 run." These 2 strange instances in the video led some viewers to suspect the video's creator of killing. They go by the name of John Bergeron, and rumors believe they committed the crime in the outdoor view of the video, and that the various clips of Tara show the robot wearing the victim's clothes. Possible support for this claim is the description included in the initial post, which made a subtle nod to the Greek story of Pygmalion, an ancient sculptor from Cyprus who thought all women were unworthy of love. In the myth, Pygmalion creates an ideal woman from ivory and falls in love with her, and the goddess Aphrodite then brings the statue to life. Viewers are torn. Some say the video offers clues to the real Tara's fate. Perhaps she didn't live up to Bergeron's expectations of an ideal woman, so he killed her. Or maybe he was so riddled by guilt for the crime, he created the video, subconsciously hoping to be caught. No matter the quote-unquote real reason behind the video, it creeps me the heck out and I'm not a fan. Alrighty folks, I'm ending today with the first thing that popped into my mind when I think of dark web videos that have made it off the dark web: blank room soup. At first glance, it seems relatively tame. There's a man sitting at a table with his eyes blacked out and he's just eating soup. I guess. A person in a character costume comes up behind him and begins patting him on the back, but as this happens, the man eating begins to sob. Then a second person dressed in the same getup enters the frame and appears to be trying to comfort the now crying man. So when this was first uploaded, I think it was in 2008, it was taken as a joke. It was a prank or some weird, strange experiment. It's been quite a bit of time since this was first appearing on the web, and to my knowledge, nobody stepped forth to claim it, which has led some to believe that there may be a more sinister story behind the video than what was initially thought. The video was first sent to Raymond Percy. The characters were his creation, used in a show he did at the Sunset Club. The costumes were stolen from his car in the parking lot, and a bit later he received the video. According to him, the characters called Ray Ray move exactly like Percy's characters are meant to, meaning that people wearing the outfits must have studied the performances meticulously. So there's been some ideas thrown around. One claims the meat in the soup is actually human remains, which the man is being forced to eat. Another says that the man is about to die, which is why he's crying. And the latter seems to be the more popular, but the video ultimately remains a source of curiosity and bafflement. Yeah, I don't want to watch it ever again. No thanks, I'm good.
Number 5. The Max Headroom Incident. A personal favorite, easily my favorite unexplained mystery in history. It's a small one, but it's my favorite, is the Max Headroom Incident. Max Headroom was the name of a character played by Matt Frewer, a British comedian portraying an artificially generated anchorman in a dystopian world 20 minutes into the future. They were actually way ahead of their time with AI business on Max Headroom. The character was known for his strange, jilted speech, chaotic editing style, and a comedy in a way that was just a teeny bit scary. All of that meant that Max was the perfect avatar for a signal hijacking pirate to use for the funniest unexplained mystery ever put to air. WGN-TV was a local TV station in Chicago, Illinois. During a local news bulletin on November 22nd, 1987, viewers were interrupted watching the news to a 20-second clip of a man in a Max Headroom costume dancing erratically in front of a sheet metal screen. The incident scared the staff, but not half as much as Max's second interruption. Later that same evening, the hacker would strike again, this time during an episode of Doctor Who. Blimey! This time Max's invasion came complete with audio, which was a low, scary drone accompanied by Max blurting out complete non sequiturs. Catch the wave, there's still an X there, there's really something about it. Even though the clip is silly, it's a joke. The buzz of the signal combined with Max's uncanny, terrifying appearance in the mask and nonsensical sayings are really creepy, like an auxiliary nightmare. "I just made a masterpiece for all the world's greatest newspaper nerds," is a particularly good line out of his rant, amidst quoting a few ad campaigns, television shows, songs, and general absurdities. The reason I love the Max Headroom incident so much is that the hackers had this golden opportunity. You know, they hijacked a TV station, they had everyone in Chicago watching, and they had absolutely no message, no meaning, no greater goal. They were just doing it for kicks. They were trolling before trolling was even a thing. The clip ends with Max being spanked by a woman in a maid outfit while he yells, "They're coming to get me!" Flawless, no notes. So who was this Max Headroom imposter? Who hijacked the station? That's the thing, we don't know and we never will. He covered his tracks well, he got away with it. The only person who knows who was under that mask was the man wearing it. As such, he remains the most famous and most legendary signal intrusion. Catch the wave. And if you're looking for more scary videos that might have Max Headroom and might not, we've got all of that and then some on Top 5 Scary. The odds are very good if it's freaky. We've done a video or 2 or 3 on it. So hit subscribe, please make sure to hit that little bell so you don't miss a scream, but do that at the end of this video, okay? Because I got way more scary, unexplained videos coming up for you right now. Number 4, the Serbian dancing woman. If you've been scrolling through TikTok lately, there's a very good chance you've seen word or you've heard of the Serbian dancing woman. While the mystery is purported to have started all the way back in the 90s, it only came to light recently when it was posted to TikTok. Now, the exact details in all of this are a bit wrapped in mystery, but that's what makes it so darn interesting. It's a list of top 5 mysterious videos after all. There are videos all over the app and the rest of the net, and they all feature a mysterious, unidentified Serbian woman dancing in the pale moonlight, who by all accounts you do not want to interrupt lest you face grave consequences. Who is she? Where did she come from? Why is she dancing in the street? What is she listening to? Which is very important. Does she just have rhythm in her heart, or is it something darker? Now, there are more than a few stories of TikTok users who've claimed that they have encountered the dancing woman up close, and we'll share a story or 2 to, and I'll let you decide if they're just tall tales or true stories. A TikToker going by the name of Nico was walking with his mother when they saw the lady dancing in the street. She charged at the two of them, claiming herself to be the ambassador of death, and claimed that she needed Nico's mother's life for a ritual to resurrect an old Serbian king. Now, another TikToker by the name of Solomon, who says he was friends with Nico, reports that after Nico saw the dancing lady, he got a little jealous and wanted to find her too. And after weeks of searching, found her, introduced himself, and she screamed that she was going to take his soul. Of course, it's important to remember anyone on TikTok or the internet can go on and just say anything, but really, would someone on the internet really look into a camera and just tell lies? I don't think people would do that.
Coming in at number 3, Realtime Death Counter. Now, this website is exactly how it sounds. It is a real-time death counter across the entire world. With over 7 billion people in the world, it is difficult to quantify exactly how many people die at any given moment. Now, it's not because we don't have the technology to keep track, it's simply because death isn't the most noteworthy thing to keep track of. Sadly, because it happens so often. Now, Bradley On decided to create a real-time simulation of all the deaths happening across the globe at any given moment. It's incredibly accurate too, as it's based on numbers taken from every single country. Now, this is of course incredibly upsetting and not something that is easy to look at considering how many red dots pop up every single second on the site. But if you're ever in the mood for a visual representation of the fragility of life, this is the place to go. Certainly keeps you grounded and thankful for the time you have on this planet. Time is fleeting, make sure you live it up while you can. Coming in at number 2, plane crash info. Most people have a morbid fascination with death. It's the reason why we all crane our necks when we pass a car crash or our ears perk when we hear a siren. We're interested for some very bizarre reason. So when a plane goes down, we are all left in utter disbelief, but at the same time are intrigued to learn of all the details as to what went down. As we know, advancements in aviation technology have progressed to the point that we need not worry when we board a plane about it going down. Each and every year, fewer and fewer people pass away from aviation accidents, so much so that when it happens, it shocks the entire world. Think Kobe Bryant. So saying that crashes still happen, though they may show up just as numbers to us, people still pass away. Now, there is a real website that tracks all of these aviation accidents, specifically what goes on right before the plane crashes. The website is called Plane Crash Info. It's a regularly updated database of all plane crashes in history, with detailed info of what exactly happened and why the plane went down. It's of course incredibly heartbreaking and unsettling to read about, considering these aren't just numbers, these are people's lives that were lost. Not to mention, there is a section on the site called Last Words, which are audio clips from the cockpit voice recorder just moments before the crash. Now, the site does have legitimately good intentions as it tries to document plane crashes for the sake of record keeping. That still doesn't stop it from being disturbing and saddening to read about though. And finally, coming in at number 1, become a horse. Okay, I understand that life can be challenging. We're born, we work, we pay taxes, then we move on. Okay, we die. It doesn't seem fair now, does it? However, there are people out there in the world that want to mix things up. They want a new experience and not necessarily a human experience. No, they want to be a horse. Yes, you heard me correctly. A horse. They want to eat grass and graze in peace. What's wrong with that? However, there is a difference between wanting to be something and actually getting experimental surgery, Tusk style, to make it happen. According to the creator of If Wishes Were Horse, many people out there in the world have an aching desire to abandon their hands for hoofs and escape the complexities of human existence. Just listen to this excerpt from the site. I quote, "The horse's sexual appeal should be mentioned too. Not for nothing do we flatter or tease each other with terms like stud, stallion, or filly. Many find the notion of becoming a horse quite erotic, but for most, the notion of transforming into a horse or any other animal is a plea for escape from our increasingly complex lives." Now, there are real people out there that are carefully planning their human to horse transition. I quote, "Feet, tail, and ears especially can cause confusing sensations. All will be emitting different signals to those received as a human. Phantom finger syndrome is common, but quickly fades as the mind acclimatizes. Now, it is all good and well wearing hoofs and fake ears. What is truly crossing the line is when experimental surgery comes into play. I quote, "Science, here and now, could turn you into a horse. I mean that. Skeletons can be altered, skin and hair can be grafted, prosthetics can be designed. Genetic mapping is only just beginning to illuminate super healing properties latent within our bodies. You might only be able to become a cosmetic copy and you might have to put up with being a very small horse. but it is possible.
Coming in at number 5, we've got the Human Experiment. This is a particularly well-known site on the dark web that was active for quite a while before going quiet around 2011. As you may have guessed from the name, this site documents all sorts of human experimentation. Not lab trials or allergy tests though, this is some real Unit 731 stuff. The pages detail experiments done by anonymous doctors and med students, all unethical, despicable, and super unhippocratic. The goal is to prove that some humans are verifiably superior to others. Whether it's a eugenics thing or a super soldier program gone sour, I can't say for sure. These dastardly doctors pick up homeless and unregistered people and subject them to all sorts of horrid conditions, all in the name of science. Some of the tests include starvation, extreme dehydration, testing the limits of pain tolerance, introducing infectious diseases, causing organ damage, transfusing unsafe substances, administering experimental drug trials, sterilization, and subjecting infants to x-rays, heat, and pressure. Apparently a lot of these experiments are covertly conducted in hospitals and the results are shared under the names of other real patients. After the experiment is complete, usually thanks to the death of their subject, the bodies are dissected and disposed of discreetly. At one point, dumpsters behind meat shops were mentioned. Yikes. Like most information available on the dark web, the human experiment has been subject to plenty of scrutiny and skepticism. However, according to some intrepid researchers, some of the data they posted related to their experiments with hypothermia and bleach injections is reasonably realistic. It could very well be an elaborate fantasy, but numbers don't often lie. Like I mentioned earlier, these folks have been radio silent since 2011, but that doesn't mean they've stopped with their experimentation. Maybe they've just stopped posting about it. Coming in at number 4, Hitmen. Thanks to the relative anonymity of the dark web, hits seem to be a relatively common commodity. Who hasn't at some point wanted someone dead? Not having to kill them yourself is a huge bonus too. Although that's definitely not something I've ever considered. No way. There are 3 major sites that a lot of folks seem to be familiar with: Assassination Market, Unfriendly Solution, and Cthulhu Resume. They all function a little bit differently, but are definitely all for the same purpose. Unfriendly Solution is apparently just one hitman. He claims to have years of experience and no remaining human empathy, which means he'll do just about anything to anyone for the right price. Cthulhu Resume is an organized criminal group full of former soldiers and mercenaries. Apparently they're a well-oiled killing machine. And then there's the Assassination Market, which is a little odd. It works kind of like a crowdfunding operation with an element of gambling. A target is added to a list and users can add cryptocurrency to a pool of money associated with that person. Folks can also predict when and how a person will die, and whoever gets it right will take the money home. The person behind this site appears to be more fundamentally driven than others, with plenty of long manifesto-style points about their assassination style. Although, with most folks on the list being celebrities, it seems like the site's more of a novelty than anything. Many folks theorize that the more accessible operations are probably sting operations for the FBI or similar organizations, which makes sense to be honest. Catch killers before they can find a real hitman. However, I don't doubt that there are real assassins skulking around on the dark web. They'd be much more furtive though, allowing only certain folks to find them. You would need connections and access to the always changing gibberish-based onion links to contact these killers. After all, who would openly advertise their services on a surface level site?
Number 3, Blank Room Soup. I have seen a lot of odd videos in my time. It's literally my job to watch odd videos. But every now and again, I come across something that sticks with me and leaves an awful taste in my mouth. Well, there's nothing quite like the taste of blank room soup. This next very strange video, often referred to as blank room soup or some variation thereof, depicts someone who seems to be being held hostage by giant pop vinyls, strange men in mascot costumes. Now the actual content of blank room soup is pretty bare. One man is being held by the mascots, slurping down what looks like a bowl of ramen or pho, and it's pretty hard to make out if he's laughing, crying, screaming, or some horrible combination of all 3. He's had his eyes blacked out and censored, so it's pretty hard to tell what's going on. Legend has it that this video came from the dark web and was found there, but with a little digging we can try and find some of its actual history. Now there are tons of wild theories ranging from strange capture and interrogation, satanic rituals and cults, or bizarre esoteric performance art. Getting to the bottom of this video is a tough one. Amateur sleuths traced the costumes back to an artist named Raymond Percy, who created the characters for performance art, but this video didn't come from Percy, who reported that the outfits he had made were stolen from his van, meaning the people in this video could have been who stole his costumes. So what do you think? Is this bizarre video footage of a dark, deep web crime? Or is it just an incredibly bizarre auteur art piece we couldn't hope to understand? I know if I was an esoteric artist, I would definitely lie and say that someone stole my costumes and not that I did it. Regardless of its original intention, the video is deeply disturbing, and there's something about it that just makes me feel sticky and makes me want to sit down in the shower. It's going to be puzzling us for as long as we have to think about it, which honestly I hope is not much longer. I hope I'm done. Oh yeah, I am. Number 2, happy anniversary. Up next is going to be the sincerely disturbing clip referred to as happy anniversary. If only it was as nice as that title implied. In 2004, a woman by the name of Nora Murray went missing under bizarre circumstances. She'd emailed her boss telling them that she'd be out of work for a death in the family and then left on a road trip. But there was no death in the family, and after a car crash, she was never seen again. Now the case as a whole is fascinating, and if you're interested in true crime, there's enough fodder for a full video out there, and better YouTubers than me have done stories on it, so look up Nora Murray after. But why am I telling you all this? Well, because this video was posted 8 years to the day of Mora's disappearance, titled Happy Anniversary. And the account was owned by a user named Mr. 112 Dirtbag, and Mora went missing on Route 112. More than a bit of a coincidence there. Now the video in question is deeply unsettling, even without that context. It's just an old man cackling to himself maniacally, winking to the camera and spouting words out in a foreign language. Now allegedly this video was sent to the Murray family by the upload. Police looked at it and deemed it inconsequential to the investigation. This dismissal led some internet sleuths to start theorizing that this was just a deeply, profoundly mentally unwell man who had become obsessed with the case and was trying to involve himself in any way he could as a fan of sorts. Now, the original video and the original Mr. 112 Dirtbag channel were both taken down off of YouTube, although they've since been mirrored. The trail goes cold there. Nora Murray was tragically never found. Was this video a part of the puzzle? Was it just a lone man rambling into his camera, seeking the attention of a grieving family? Not that that's any better. The video is still incredibly creepy, regardless of how you look at it. And number 1, dining room in and out. I don't think I meant to put this at the number 1, but it is what it is. Coming in next on our list of strange, inexplicable videos that have been baffling internet viewers for years and years is this bizarre little clip titled Dining Room In and Out. Now the clip is very short, showing the world's worst dining party. A meal is set out, but only one guest has arrived to eat it. A pale-faced woman caked in makeup, making her look inhuman, or like that girl in the Radiator out of Eraserhead for all my Lynch heads out there. She mumbles something incoherent as the camera pulls back on her and she falls face first into a bowl. The scene flips back on itself. The doll-like woman looks up and says, "There is nothing." Eerie, short, sticks with you. I'm gonna be thinking about it the rest of my life. What is the purpose of this video and where did it come from? Who made it and why? Well, unlike a lot of the stranger videos out there and the ones on this list, there is actually a lot of answers on this, and I will spoil it just a little bit. The Dining Room was a short experimental film directed by independent director David B. Earl, who was taking large swaths of inspiration from David Lynch for his work. If you're not already a fan, Lynch is famous for depicting nightmarish scenes of suburban life, bringing unsettling terror to fairly mundane things. A small logging town, a diner, a radiator, the planet Arrakis, you know. The Dining Room short was intended as a nihilistic commentary on the afterlife, or lack thereof. The intention was for this clip to repeat endlessly, with the only dialogue being the doll saying, "There is nothing," in reference to the lack of an afterlife. All there is life and death and top 5 scary videos.